This is a scripted dialogue based on conversations I've had with a mixture of conservative Christian ministers. In the book you gave me to read, the guy says, quote, "I've broken almost all the 10 Commandments. How about you?" And I'm like, what? Broken all the 10 Commandments? I haven't broken all the 10 Commandments. That's ridiculous. You Christians do that a lot. Guilt mongering. Always trying to make people feel guilty and getting control of them that way. Most people are not that bad, yet you push the idea that humans are all inherently evil. I don't agree with that at all. I think humans are essentially free to be either good or evil. We are not all inherently evil. Let me give you a tongue-in-cheek thought that I've had for years. Christians find it so easy to believe they're sinners because they generally are. Atheists don't believe they're sinners because they're generally not. They're much more moral than Christians.
Interesting way of communicating that. What I found about atheism over the years, the challenge to atheism, is that there is no standard of truth. There's no standard of right or wrong. It's just whatever that particular society or particular person deems to be right.
I hear that a lot, that atheists don't have an objective grounding for their morality. Right, that might be true. They don't have God as an ultimate sanction for their morality, but that doesn't make Christian morality, therefore, correct. I think religion has the very same problem of subjectivity, because different religions deem different things as right or wrong. Even different denominations of Christianity have different values. Conservative groups versus liberal groups. You still end up with subjective opinions. A Muslim can make the very same argument you're making, that atheists have no objective grounding for their values. Okay, but does that therefore make Muslim morality objective and true? No, not at all. So I don't think criticizing atheist morality is any sort of good argument for Christian morality. I find Christians frequently use this objective morality argument as a way of getting out of difficult questions about Christianity. They intuitively try to shift the focus to a philosophical discussion on morality, instead of dealing with the specific issue I've raised, for which they have no good answer for.
Well, God, first of all, from the perspective of a non-Christian has no moral standard by which to judge any of this.
Okay, Did I tell you what my theological position is? I'm a general theist. I call it soft theism. I believe in the probability of a general God not tied to any particular religion. A non-intervening God. He just lets the natural world run. Where does morality come from, you ask? I would say, if God is the creator, then from God, ultimately. But not from the God of any of the traditional religions, not from Allah, not from your God, but from a more reasonable God.
I think that without God, we cannot really say if something is good or not good. Why is it immoral to murder people? If we look at a lion killing and eating an antelope, we don't say that's immoral.
I do. Not on the lion's part, but on God's part. He's being immoral for making the world that way, where animals have to kill other animals for food.
I look at that as the circle of life.
Well, yeah, of course it is. It's the circle of life, but it's not a very kind circle, is it? It's a very brutal one.
Again, I would ask, where do we get the definition of kind and unkind?
Do we have to talk about definitions? When you see an animal being torn apart, isn't it obvious that that is not a kind event? This is not a kind God who set up such a system, whether your God or mine. This is where the atheist has a good argument, the problem of evil. Why such a cruel animal kingdom? Why have all these diseases and earthquakes and droughts? That is not a kind God. Again, whether your God or mine.
I would say this is all because of the broken world. Have you heard this?
Oh yeah, I've heard it. Adam and Eve's sin, the fall and all that. Basic Christian theology, yeah. And I think it's completely wrong.
Why?
Because why should animals suffer for what man allegedly did? That's not fair. That's not a fair God or a kind God.
But originally God's creation did not include a cruel animal kingdom. Who knows, maybe evolution is the way God made the world, take form step by step.
But you're letting God off the hook.
How am I letting him off the hook?
You're excusing the cruelty of the world he created.
I'm not. I'm saying that whatever God designed, it was perfect. You know, I am seeing a harsh animal kingdom, yeah, however it happened. Maybe it took billions of years for it to form, from lifeless rocks to living creatures. I'm open to the possibility of evolution, but that really doesn't change my faith.
Did you hear that subtle sound? That was the sound of him veering off the issue to focus on something else. We were talking about the cruelty and unfairness of God in making animals suffer for man's alleged sin. We weren't talking about whether evolution is true or not. He changed the topic. I talked to a Catholic professor, and he wouldn't admit this either, that God is responsible for natural evil. He said something like, he's no more responsible for diseases than he is for rain. And I said, what? He is responsible. He's responsible for both. He's the one who designed nature and made it, so he is responsible. Even if I'm guilty of Adam's sin, which I'm not, making animals suffer for man's sin is not fair or kind. You Christians seem to think God is oh so wonderful. The God I believe in is a very mixed entity.